Hi everyone, welcome to RMSM Studio. My name is Rama and I'm here to share my ARE journey and help you guys out with any tips or tricks that I learned along the way in studying for the architecture registration exam. So in today's video, we're going to go over how offices, and this can be like larger corporations or companies, can support ARE test takers. This is different from the video that I did on how supervisors or managers can support test takers. This is about really like company-wide efforts, or I guess sort of building-wide efforts. So there are lots of benefits for supporting professional registration for companies. I probably don't need to, really explain them, but I will. So one of the really big ones is employee retention, and a lot of offices don't really know this, but education can be a huge incentive or benefit for architecture professionals, especially young professionals. Education is actually listed as one of the key benefits for members of the Gen Z generation, and actually went above paid sick leave in terms of how important it was. So you can see that education is a really huge or really important benefit for architecture professionals, and it also gives people an incentive, like, as I continue with this company, they'll continue to help pay for or help support me in my professional goals. Because, in terms of staying with a company, it's important to know that the company that you're with is actually supportive of your professional development. Another benefit is creating a highly skilled workforce, and really improving performance. If you can imagine the difference between the level of knowledge has after studying for the project development and documentation exam and the construction and evaluation exam versus, before, they'll have learned so much more about the process of architecture, and the process of design, the process of documentation through studying for these exams. So you're really getting a better quality workforce and a more highly skilled workforce through investing in this registration process. And also in terms of creating office culture, a lot of architects, I think, would like to believe that their office culture focuses on, continuous improvement and about the importance of education. My mentor definitely stressed the importance of continuous education as being important throughout your architecture career. So really cementing that in the office culture and sort of, really making clear that that is your priority. All right, so let's get into ways that the offices can support ARE test takers. So first, I would recommend that you determine a consistent benefit program or registration process for your office. And I guess especially if you're an architecture office, chances are you're going to have a lot of, young professional architects coming through there. And having a consistent system for as they go through the registration process can make things a lot easier for you and for them at the end of the day. So establishing consistency around, increased responsibilities or salary increases or promotions or even bonuses can be very helpful and avoid confusion or avoid unnecessary conversations after they complete their registration. And I think I've mentioned in my video on how supervisors can support ARE test takers that, trying to have these conversations as early as possible is super helpful. So maybe nobody doesn't feel disappointed at the end of the day, or they know exactly what to expect and they're very excited about the process. So either way, it's a help. Number two, I would try and identify space within the office for study groups or for study breaks. It can be very difficult for some people to find, sufficient space to study. Maybe, at home it's too busy or too hectic for them to sort of stay focused and they feel really distracted. And maybe if people want to study, during their lunch breaks or when they have some downtime, that can be a great way of making sure they have a distraction-free environment. And if you're also providing a space, maybe if you have a spare meeting room, for study groups to meet up and maybe keep all of your materials in one place, that can be very helpful for test takers as well. And number three can be employee recognition on passing their exams. And this doesn't necessarily have to be something like a party. It can just be the office's way of showing that, they're supportive of the steps people have taken in their professional development, and, recognizing that achievement, recognizing that commitment, and recognizing the time spent in the process. So that can be really great for employee, morale and self-esteem. And this can be done in multiple ways. If you have your own website, you can feature it, on the blog, or you could even feature it on the company LinkedIn page. And that also shows other young professionals, or maybe just professionals, that you're invested in professional development employees, and that can actually be helpful to you in terms of hiring and recruiting. Another way that offices can support ARE test takers, or people going through the registration process, is to create a mentorship program. And this might not necessarily be directly related to the AREs, but it can be. So when somebody has questions about a specific topic within the exam, they have somebody they can turn to, somebody they can ask questions regarding different architectural elements or concepts. And also in terms of completing the AXP process, again, having that consistent system or, progression within the company takes a lot of the guesswork out of the process. So I would definitely recommend looking into that. I can provide a link to the AXP handbook, and that's the Architecture Experience Program handbook, in the video description below. And last but not least is to provide a program for paying for the exams. And this can also be sort of limited to the exams that people have passed. That's sort of what my company or office does, where they'll only pay for my exams if I've passed them already. So, anything that you fail, you have to pay for out of your own pocket. So I find that this is a really great way to show your support for the exams, and sort of making sure the financial element of the exams, or the financial burden of the exams, isn't as intense. So those are my recommendations for how offices can support ARE test takers. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. You can leave them in the chat below, and happy studying, and hopefully this video was helpful for you.